Hi, I'm Tamara with Ohio EPA. Have you ever wondered if the equipment and operations at your facility needs air permits? Would you be surprised to learn that many things do, although there are some exceptions? The process of determining whether or not you need an air permit can seem very overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Join me for this compliance session as we break down the air permit evaluation process. Come on, let me help you build that compliance skill.
Many facilities need air permits. Unfortunately, there's no master list of what needs an air permit, and every business needs to go through the evaluation process. This can seem like an overwhelming task, especially since there's no standard process of determining if your equipment or operations needs an air permit, but there are some rules of thumb that can help. First, anything that has a stack, vent, or dust collector may need an air permit. This can include things like woodworking or grinding operations that have a baghouse or a cyclone. Things that use paints, solvents, adhesives, or inks may need an air permit. Some examples include spray booths, printing operations, and dry cleaning operations that use certain solvent cleaners. Third, equipment or operations that burn fuel may need an air permit. This can include things like large boilers, engines, and furnaces. Finally, operations or equipment that produce visible dust, odors, or smoke may need an air permit. Common examples of this include aggregate processing, material stockpiles, facility roadways, and sandblasting. While these rules of thumb are helpful, it can still be confusing knowing where or even how to start this process. I have some tips for this as well. It's helpful to start with a tour of your facility. Try to look at everything with a fresh set of eyes as you try to identify any equipment or operations that may be creating air pollution. As you tour your facility, observe your operation and talk with your staff. Start compiling a list of all your equipment and operations that may be sources of air pollution. These are called emission sources. Don't worry about being too precise at this point, just write everything down. Once you have your list pulled together, don't panic because it's possible that not everything on your list will need an air permit. In fact, the next step is to see if anything on your list is exempt. Ohio's rules include different types of exemptions that would allow you to operate your equipment or to continue your activities without a formal air permit. Currently, there are about 60 different types of equipment and operations that are specifically listed as exempt in Ohio's air rules. These sources are known as permanently exempt and they do not need an air permit. Some examples of permanently exempt sources include storage tanks that meet certain capacity limits and that store certain types of materials, some small boilers and engines, some powder coating and maintenance welding operations. Now it's time to look at your list of sources and see if anything is permanently exempt and does not need an air permit. You may have other sources on your list that have low emissions. These sources may be de minimis and may not need an air permit as well. However, unlike the permanent exemptions, you need emission calculations to be sure that your sources are indeed de minimis. Finally, some equipment and operations with low emissions may have the option to be exempt from the formal or paperwork air permit process, but certain conditions like record keeping and operating restrictions still apply. These are known as permit by rule or PBR exemptions. Currently, PBRs are available for more than 10 different types of sources, including emergency generators, some printing operations, and some aggregate processing operations. Using this evaluation process, anything on your list that does not meet one of the exemptions just discussed will likely need an air permit. If you find that you do need an air permit for one or more of the sources on your list, here are some good things to know. Air permits are issued for each source unless they are exempt. For example, if you have a spray booth and sandblasting operations, you'll need to submit an air permit application for each source. Also, there are different types of permits available, and the most appropriate permit depends on your specific source and facility conditions. Finally, any permits you may need will be issued by Ohio EPA or possibly your local air agency, depending on where your facility is located. This session provided a brief overview of a process that you can use to determine if your equipment or operations need an air permit. If you need any additional help with this or other environmental compliance issues, contact our Office of Compliance Assistance and Pollution Prevention for free and confidential help. Thanks for watching and have a great day.